Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Reviewed. Alright, hello my wonderful friends and welcome to another fan fiction recommendation video. Yes, I know this isn't what everyone wants, but it's what I want, and since we're at the beginning of Pride Month, I figured it's a great time to share some more of my favorite couple and all the fics I've been reading about them. Now, just a couple of things before we get into it, because we do have a lot of recs to get through, so I don't want to waste too much time here. This is the second video that I've made focused on HOLLANOV fanfics, and the third or fourth or fifth video that I've made on fanfics in general. Recently, I was just on the Long Game, a Heated Rivalry podcast with Declan and Silvan, where we were diving into the backstory of fanfiction, giving the guys a little bit of history on it, and it inspired me to want to do my next round of recs for this. And I was like, oh, it hasn't been that long, Jen, and it's true. The last video I made was on March 7th, which was almost 3 months ago. And then I was like, oh, I only have like 20 to talk about. Wrong. I have read 35 since then. I've read now about 60 fics. Now, I talk about 26 in the previous one. I'm going to cover 25 of them today, so I'm not going to go through all of them just because I won't, and we'll start storing up for the next video that I'm going to do. But again, I do review all of the fics I read along with my other books in my weekly wrap-ups. Just as a reminder too, the quick stuff, I don't rate the fics. The way I'm going to do this today is I'm going to talk about the fic and then I'll say whether I highly recommend it, whether I recommend it for specific situations or specific tropes you might be looking for, or whether I, would pass. But again, I'm not passing judgment of any of these. I'm not really going to talk about the quality of it unless it really stood out in a positive way, because that's not what I'm reading fics for. I'm not here to judge the people. I'm just here to give my opinion and mostly pass it along. I'll have links to all these fics down below. Reminder, some of these fics will have locks on them, so if you don't, that's not my choice, I didn't pick that. So if you don't have an account on AO3, which is where all of these fics are from, I can't do anything about that. I won't be sending individual docs to anyone. So if you want to be reading fics, the best thing you can do is to start an account on AO3. Then you can do bookmarks. You don't have to have a million tabs open. You'll be able to make your own files and things like that. That's all the stuff you can find out on other pages about how to do AO3, and even in previous videos of mine that I've made. This one today, just going to be a recommendation video because I've talked about all that stuff on previous ones, and I'll have them linked up there. But I want to welcome you if you're new to me from Silvan and Declan's channel, their podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. Yes, I am just as chaotic as I was on there, although when I have people to riff off of, I get even crazier. But at the end of that podcast we did, there was a portion of it where I was reading the blurbs of fics to them and having them decide whether they would immediately click or what the fuck is that, and it was so much fun, and that's what got me to be like, oh, I want to do another recommendation video that's just fics, because again, I fit these into my weekly wrap-ups, but I always feel a tiny bit sheepish. I know I shouldn't, but I do, because my regular romance readers, they're not all into fanfic, let alone Heated Rivalry, so telling them about fanfic is just kind of so random, but this is my channel and I can talk about whatever the hell I want, and if people want to watch this one, they can move right along. Also, before, I wanted to show off that since I don't think I had either of these the last time I made this video, and if I did, I don't care, I'll show it off again, but I know one of them is brand new. I have been, of course, wanting to collect special editions of these, and so far, I don't have any actual official special editions of Heated Rivalry yet, but I do have two different slip cases. One of them done by an artist that, and I'm pretty sure, I for sure shared it on a book haul, but this is Starcaster, and they did a cover illustration for it, and there's this one. So this is just on my own copy of Heated Rivalry, and I ordered the slipcover of it. So this is just put over one of my own copies, the one that I hadn't annotated actually. So this is gorgeous. This is their design. I bought this. Then there was one that was kind of officially commissioned to do by this company I'd never heard of before. They actually do a lot of SJM. They do a lot of fantasy ones, and they are called Acrylics Bookish Nook. And they have this technology that makes these 3D edges on the book. So this is also a copy of Heated Rivalry with the slipcover, but there's something cool about this one. So not only did they commission the art and do the art of this, which is gorgeous. It has some silver foil. It has a face off on the front. It has Heated Rivalry here, of course, on it. And then this back is just gorgeous. It has the quote, "We were supposed to stand alone at the top, but we will always be there together. But we will always be there together." Yeah. And then it has like loons flying. It has Canada and the United States here. It has the cottage. It has them in the water here. And it's just beautiful. But what's really cool, what makes this 3D, is there is this etched edge, which it's hard to tell for you guys, but it is actually like 3D etched out here. So yeah, there's Ilya's cross, and like, it's hard to show you, but like it bumps out there. There's a stick here. There's airplane down here. It has a phone, and this one says, fantastic, a little bit drunk actually, can I call you? And then this one, it has the room number 1221 on it, and a loon flying over. So you can actually still order these. I don't believe they're sold out. I just had got it from the pre-order, and you can get either a 3D printed one or a 2D. And this was actually only, I think I paid $39 for it, but the 2D I think is only like $34. So super cool. But anyway, I wanted to show those off. I am still waiting on one that is a rebound copy that I ordered off of Etsy. And then I believe Bookish Box is doing Heated Rivalry in the long game. And I also think that there's some special editions getting done in the UK too, with which I'm not going to try to get that one. I actually want some more copies of the long game to get done. I have enough of Heated Rivalry. The long game is actually my favorite one anyway, so I want to get that. But anyway, that's all the stuff out of the way, out of the front. Let's get into the recommendations here. And again, I have 25 of these I'm going to go through. A couple of them were like duets. But, oh yeah, the one other thing I was going to say, this year has just been absolutely taken over by this. All right. So this little counter up here is how many things I've read this year, 156. Out of that 156 things I've read, 57 of them have been fanfics, which is 36%. So over a third of all my reading has been fanfics, and it has been delightful. I regret not a single one. It's been wonderful, and I absolutely love it. It's revitalized my reading like nothing else. I have said this in so many videos, but I was really struggling in December, not like mentally, but just like with reading. I wasn't feeling the urge for it. I was going through some brain fog because of some medication that I was on, and then Heated Rivalry and then fanfic happened, and it has been the best. So the reason why I have whole videos dedicated to this is because it absolutely inspired me and has made me so excited, and I'm passing that on to you guys. And if it isn't something you're interested in, that is totally fine. I don't need to hear about it, okay? As a reminder too, because sometimes these videos will get sent to the fic writers if people know who they are and things like that, please don't say anything negative in the comments. This isn't what this is about. Even the ones when I'm going to say I wouldn't recommend them, I'm not trashing them. I'm just saying they didn't work for me, but the link will be there, and maybe the tags will be something you're interested in, right? That's how it is with all things. But with fanfics, these aren't official writers for what we know. I'm just sharing with you what I love about it and passing them on, but we're going to be extra gentle with these, okay? Because it's already a bit of a weird thing to be like reviewing fanfics. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm just recommending them to you guys, okay? Also, if you follow me on my Instagram, I share my recs as I read them there. So yeah, I think that's everything. That's enough blah, blah, blah about that. But yes, I am so excited to get into these. So like I said, I went back to check the last video to see where I was at. And one of the things I'd said in that video is that I was currently reading a fic called The Miracle by the 7%. And if you've been around my channel at all, you'll know that, yes, sir, I did end up finishing The Miracle. And in fact, I ended up putting that in my top reads of the year, right? For all I say that I don't rate fanfics, we're starting off with one that I did because I gave this 6 stars, and I will take any heat anyone wants to give me for it because I think this was fucking fantastic. And I've recommended it to many people, I mean, it's hard to say to read it if you haven't read Heated Rivalry, but at the same time, I think it might be in some ways easier to read if you haven't read at least the long game. Like if you've just read Heated Rivalry but haven't read the long game, Miracle might be a good choice. Because if you've read the long game and you love the characters in the long game, then the Miracle is very difficult on you, right? And that's one of the things I was getting a little bit of gentle flack for on the podcast when I talked about Miracle, is because it's just so hard to explain. Until people start reading fanfic and experiencing the feelings that you get, and maybe they never will enjoy this stuff the same way that I do. That is totally fine. That's just reading subjective anyway, whether it's in a fanfic world or not. It's so hard to explain what sucks me into it and what grips me by the throat the way it does. But I just was absolutely sucked in. So what is this about, in case you're new here, in case you don't know? So first off, there is an archive warning with this one for a major character death, okay? This fic takes place during the long game, and it is a canon divergence from the plane crash, okay? And if you know, you know. And by that I mean there is no plane crash in the long game, but it's a divergence in that one happens. And in this part of the story, Shane's parents and Hayden and I think that's it, know about Shane and Ilya. And the infamous text messages still happen. And everyone on that plane with Ilya dies except for him. And he is the miracle. He lives. And so he's in bad shape, though. He will physically never be the same. And he's lost everyone that he loves and plays with on that plane. And he's really the only centaur left standing, except for a couple superfluous coaching staff. This includes social media. Thank goodness the dog wasn't on the plane, right? The dog is alive and was staying with the family. But everyone but Ilya's gone. And so it's a tragedy. And it's also a case where the league wants to use Ilya as a miracle and also wants to cover their ass. Because not only is this a story of survival and grief and Shane helping his partner through something unimaginable, but also corporate corruption and how it gets uncovered, and also just utter devastation. So again, it's not happy. I wept untold times. I will be reading this one again. Because it was so well done at the same time. And I definitely want to read more from this fic author. They did a fantastic job. The major character death, though, is for the Centaurs team. And then, yeah, there's also, survivor's guilt. There's pain. There is, having to come off of painkillers. There is his regular mental health. There's just so many things. There's panic attacks. There's funerals. There's a lot. So this is heavy. It's not for everyone. But the thing for me is, as you'll see in a pattern as I go through a lot of these fics we're going to talk about, I just thrive off of the hurt comfort situations and off of the times when they get to support each other that way. And this one too is about a whole community wanting to come together as well, and all the families of the men and women who died and getting justice for them. And so this also tapped into something for me as someone who has studied is the wrong thing, but become a very curious person about plane crash incidents and how they are researched and how they are looked into. And so I was very impressed with how this fic writer did their homework on those things, because it's a very niche thing, right, for people to know, but I do know a lot about them because it's one of my weird interests, and I would have noticed if they'd been sloppy with those, and they weren't, and I really like that. So yeah, I love this one. And again, I won't be saying ratings for any of the other ones that I talk about, but this is in my top reads of the year, which means it was a $6 book to me, even though it's a fic. And I can't help it. When one of those ends up there, it just does. But okay, we better continue because I can't talk that long about all of these, but just watch me try. Okay, next up was one called, oh wait, I want to go through a few of the other parts of it. Sorry. This one was 115,000 words. It's explicit. I've talked about what the tags are already. All right. Next up, there was Dig Two Graves by, hold on, I try to pull up each one of these to see here. I have a spreadsheet that I put all of these in, which is why when I recommend them, I'm able to put all the links in. So I pull it up. This one is by Devotis Saturatus. I don't know how to pronounce this one. It's a smush of a bunch of stuff, so I don't know what it is. But this one is pretty dark. This one is pretty heavy. And a lot of people, I guess, don't consider this one to have an HEA, which I learned afterwards. I felt like it had a bittersweet happy for now to it. But I just want to put that out there because I am someone who usually you can trust that everything for me has a HEA from it. So because some people debate on it, I just want to tell you that I felt like it had a bittersweet happy for now, and I'll explain what happens in this one. Certainly Shane and Ilya are all right in it, but there are some other characters that is kind of like bittersweet for, okay? And I'll explain in a second. But after I have recommended this one a few times, I've had fanfic readers say, oh my gosh, that one doesn't have an HEA. Oh my gosh, it's trigger, like people were freaking out on it. And I'm like, okay, I didn't quite feel that way about it. But this does have a creator chose not to use archive warnings, so I'm going to tell you what the warnings are. Because there are graphic depictions of like gore and blood here, and reader discretion advised things. So what happens here is that the Montreal Voyagers won't stop slinging mud at Shane in the press, so Shane and Ilya decide to get revenge the best way they know how, by beating them and being better. But in this one, there is a character who is a, there's a character who, oh my gosh, they finished. Sorry, I just got distracted. That's from Hayden's point of view. Sorry. Sometimes people finish stuff since I've talked about it and other things that happen here. So this one also includes a made-up character who's like a rookie on the Centaurs. And instead of going after Shane, or they're going after Shane, and this other character ends up taking the hit, and he almost dies because of it, is the thing. And it happens right in front of Shane. And it really mentally traumatizes Shane, because he feels like it should have been him, but also like this, no one dies from this, but it is really close, let's just say. Okay? It's really close. And the Montreal Voyagers is absolutely disgusting in here, and they get away with it, and it's just really gross. And it leads Shane and ultimately this, which I can't remember his name, but this like made up character in here, to, you know, have to decide if they want to stay in hockey anymore. But again, Shane and Ilya as a couple never have any problems. It's more about the relationship with hockey that it has like a bittersweet situation. So this one was interesting. I'll be honest, I might not have finished it if I had known the warnings fully. So that's why I wanted to tell you. Because I thought it was going to be us getting like revenge on Montreal, but it is called Dig Two Graves, so who was paying attention to it, right? Like when you go to get revenge, remember to dig two graves, right? So there was that one. I would say I don't necessarily recommend that one. All right, the game plan. This was one that if you watched my podcast episode with the guys, this was one that was for Marriage of Convenience. So the quick story of this one is that when Shane and Ilya are both drafted, Ilya ends up having some trouble with his visa. In this one, Ilya gets drafted immediately to be a centaur instead of Chicago. So they're both in Canada. And Shane and Ilya actually get married to help secure Ilya's visa. And then they just think they'll be able to just go along with their lives being secretly married, and no one will find out. That's what they think is going to happen. Of course, that's not what happens. But this was actually very sweet. It's pretty light. This one is explicit. It's 64,000 words. Not really much for triggers here at all. And I do recommend that one if you want to try a they've been together all along one type of story. Okay. Next up, there was Compatible, which was a sex fic. Okay, this was a sex fic. You know, I get these in my craw sometimes. This was actually one that I was like reading in the background for quite a while to get through, because I just wasn't super pulled into it, because it's mostly about them trying out different kinks together and stuff, which is fine. But I've just learned I like more of the ones where there's some like lighter angst or more of a story going forward. And it really was just them in each one trying different kinks together. So I'm benign on this one. This is one of those that if you want to read Shane and Ilya being kinky, if you're newer into reading the fan fiction and you're not sure if you want to read them going through angsty things, this is a good one. There's not even a hint of angst to be found. It's only 18,000 words. I think that's less than 100 pages worth. And they're already playing on the same team and everything too. So yeah, that one was just a kinky one. All right, Reversal by Egg Basket. Oh yes, come on. This one, hold on. Yes, okay. This was one that I read when I was searching for a few more that had Shane and Ilya switching. I know that is controversial for some people. That's fine. This is fan fiction. This is exploring fantasy. This is trying different things. After I read one that I believe I talked about last time, which was Ilya Rozanov Gets Railed, I was looking for more that also took it very like seriously and took it very emotionally, okay? And that's when I came across Reversal, which a lot of people were saying is like one of the best top Shane Hollander ones. And boy, was this one of them. Like, oh my gosh, it's so good. And I'll be honest, there's a whole note that the author has at the beginning of it, and I'm not gonna like read the whole thing to you, but of course I'll have this link down below so you can go and read it. They talk through why they think it's so interesting to do a flip on the positions, not just for a sexual kink, for deepening their relationship, for working through certain things. And in this fic specifically, it has to do with Ilya and some of his mental health struggles. And again, this is their take on it. They go through a whole bunch of steps to explain it to you. It doesn't come from a place of just like Shane needing to prove he's a man, or Ilya needing to submit to Shane, or even you as the reader wanting to be a voyeur to that situation. There is a lot that went into this fic, and I love when an author wants to walk me through their reasoning for it. Because in all honesty, in a story or a romance that's being written, the author can decide how those things go and just leave it that way. And it's none of our business to then start poking and being like, wow, they need to switch. I need to see that happen. Like, that's none of, that's not what is happening in that story. But in fan fiction, we can do that. And it doesn't, I just love it. So anyway, Reversal does that. In this one, Ilya is sick. He is actually struggling with quite a few things, and he's struggling to let Shane help him through things. This one, they are married, And one of the other tags I love is healing through intimacy. And yeah, it's married Shane and Ilya. And yeah, but it's also top Shane Hollander, and it's great. But yeah, definitely check out this author's note before reading it if you have any questions on it. But I highly recommend it. If what I've said intrigues you, I think you will like it a lot. And then along the lines of injured Ilya, there was also, okay, this one is called Alligator Bites and Never Heal. And I'm trying to remember when this one starts off. That's why I'm like reading this here. I think they are together in this one. I'm trying to read the tag. Sorry, there's so many in here. So this one's called Flawless Assholes, which I just love the name of that. I think this one is taking place during Long Game, but there's still like a secret. And yeah, Ilya gets hurt and he doesn't want to let Shane help. Again, you can see when I read through these things in order, like when I'm in the mood for certain things, because this is how it went. But Shane and Ilya actually struggle a lot. And I think in this one, Ilya gets his like jaw broken. And Shane is just really upset because Ilya won't like follow doctor's advice and look out for himself. And they're actually kind of struggling where Shane is like, I don't know if I can be with someone who won't do that, which is just so ironic because I'm like, Shane, do you fully take doctor? But anyway, they're men and they're dealing with their stuff. But I really enjoyed this one too because it is at a point where like Ilya, I don't think is seeing a mental health professional yet. Also, his like English isn't that great yet either. So then when his like jaw gets broken, like imagine trying to like speak. So there you have to do a lot of texting too, which I really liked. I'll admit I really liked. So I do recommend that one as well. I told you I like a lot where they're injured. I know I'm such a horrible person. We'll get to some happier ones. Ooh, yeah. Okay. This one's still someone's in danger, but this one's very interesting how this one starts. So this one's called Drive Me Far by Slow Night Serenade. So this one takes place post, is this one post Heated Rivalry? Let me see. Oh, yes. Okay. The summary tells me. This one is post the cottage, and Ilya goes missing after a Raiders Metros game. Okay. So he hasn't made it to Ottawa yet. Okay. So, you know, it's in that time where he's still needing to finish out his contract with Raiders. So they are together. They're boyfriends, but they're still secret. His parents know, but they're still sneaking around. And so Ilya ends up getting kidnapped by, I believe, the Russian mafia or somebody that his brother owes money to. Okay. And he hasn't been back to see his brother, or really, you know, he cut him off after the dad died. And that has gotten him into a tough place. So the beginning of this fic is about that situation. Like, and it's so fascinating too, because it basically like Shane has shown up to see Ilya and he like notices something's wrong. So he reaches out to Svetlana, and they end up getting the police involved, and like the police see like Shane saying like, oh yeah, I mean, we're friends because of the Arena Foundation, which they have started the Arena Foundation in here. And he's like, yeah, we were meeting up to talk about it after the game. Well, when the police get the footage, the security footage, they also know that Shane was also at Ilya's house before the game, and he's coming back. So the police know that there's something more going on with Shane. Then Shane gets a ransom note, and he wants to, like, I don't want to spoil everything, but like basically the point is Shane ends up getting entangled and getting Ilya back, and it's going to basically forcibly out them. Let's just say that. So part of it is about Ilya being kidnapped and what he's put through by these people who are trying to get to his brother. And also his brother doesn't give two shits about him, except that he's a money bag. And then the and then the like aftermath of his like healing from that and then being outed and everything. So it is super like angsty in some ways, but also not. Like it's angsty from the plot part of it, but it also then has a good amount of time of them just like looking out for each other and everything. So anyway, really enjoyed this one. And oh, and Hayden doesn't know yet. So it's literally like right after the cottage. So yeah, Shane's parents know, but not Hayden yet. So like, because that's one of the tags is that Hayden Pike finds out in this one. And also Cliff finds out in this one. So really enjoyed this one. Do recommend. Okay. Yay. Okay. Then next up we have a little like duet, which I love, 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 love this one. So there is The Coast Is Not Clear and The 10-Step Plan. Okay. Oh, love these ones. Oh, I'm sorry. I get too excited about stuff. Drive Me Far is about 87,000 words and its explicit rating. Alligator Bites Never Heal is 72,000 words and is explicit. The Coast Is Not Clear is a really short one. It's a one shot basically, and it's only 8,000 words. Then the 10-Step Plan, which will take place right after it, and I'll get to that. That one is much longer. It's 95,000 words. And both of these ones are mature rated. But the way this starts is that The Coast Is Not Clear is this one shot that is, so let me read the tags for this one. So this one is Fluff and Angst. It's a fix-it. Ilya Rozanov loves Shane Hollander. Shane Hollander loves Ilya Rozanov. And that's like basically it for the tags of this one. But what happens at this one is that when they are still very young, like I literally think, right here, let me read this because I love the author's note here. It says, the idea for this fic started as a joke, namely me watching episode 4 and going, they literally only need to spend an hour alone together, not having sex to realize what their feelings are. And then I wondered, what if that hour happened earlier? So this fic plays with both the TV and the book with some direct quotes, and the mistakes are all my own. So what this person does is, I believe it's supposed to be when they're literally only 18. So they're only like 2 years into this. And I think the time when they end up getting stuck together is supposed to be, is it supposed to be after the All-Star game? Because it says this, my flight is early tomorrow. Check if the hallway is clear. And yeah, I think it's supposed to be after the All-Star game in episode 2 or episode 1. It might be episode 1 even. It's super early on. One of their earliest hookups. And what happens is that Shane is supposed to sneak out and there aren't people in the hallway. But he says that there are. So this is what it is. Shane sticks his head out and the hallway is empty. Would it hurt if he had another round with Rozanov? He's going to fly out anyway. They'll barely be spending time together. But what if they hook up for a little bit longer? So Shane pretends that there's someone in the hallway arguing and he can't leave. So instead of him sneaking out right after they hook up, he ends up staying. And they talk all night. So this little fic that is just this one shot that's like 9,000 words is them, they're fooling around and they talk. And after they talk, they are into one another and they want to keep seeing each other. And it is super cute. And by the end of it, they decide they want to be together. Let me get to the end of this. Sorry. And instead of, never seeing him again, he's like, I want to make this work. So anyway, I'm getting distracted by it, remembering how cute this one is. So then the next part, the 10-step plan, is that in Vegas after the All-Star game, it's been a little bit later and now it is in Vegas. Let me read the summary of this one. In Vegas, after they've said everything right up to the edge of I love you, Shane and Ilya come up with a plan. It was long-term with many, many steps. There might be a spreadsheet somewhere that Shane won't admit to, but it's a plan nonetheless. Over the summer of 2014, they tweak it and add things important to both of them. There are even many extensive contingency plans. Thanks to Shane's small lie, the first time they hook up, Shane and Ilya are together years earlier. Now they have to figure out what to do. So, the big part of this that is cool is that, like, they just communicate better, is the whole thing. Like, this is why this one's a fix-it fic, if you'll call it that, right? It's a wish fulfillment, if you will. But it's super fun because, like, the list of what all of these steps are, let me read a few of them because they're the chapter titles. Oh, shoot. She doesn't have them listed there. That's no fun. But there's ones that are, like, beards. Get people on our side, find out, like, there's all these different steps, but they are planning to last like 10 years or so. So yes, things definitely go awry along the way. I don't want to spoil any of them for you, but things definitely go awry along the way, including some fun hijinks. Let me say this. At one point during when they have the beards chapter, they like both pretend to be dating Svetlana at the same time, which is a really cute one. So that they can spend time together. They just like, oh, there's so many fun things that happen in this one. And they just like become such good friends as well as, you know, boyfriends for so long. And so by the time that they're ready to come out and like be together publicly, like there isn't as much fear or anxiety on particularly Shane's part of it, because he just knows Ilya so well and he knows how serious he is about it, and he just so desperately wants to be with his partner. And, you know, maybe some switching teams is involved in it, and maybe Ilya isn't the one asked to do all of the changing all the time. You know, like there's just so many cool things in this one. Also, like I said, this one is rated mature, so it isn't all about the love in it or all the spice in it. It doesn't mean there isn't still some hot scenes together once in a while, but it was just so good. Like some of the tags in this one is healthy relationships. Ilya Rozanov is a menace. Good friend Hayden Pike. Good friend Cliff Marlowe. Shane Hollander, take care of Ilya Rozanov. So yeah, I love this one. I really, really do. Highly recommend that you got to start with The Coast is Not Clear. Just think of it as like a prologue, and then you read the 10-step plan. All right, keep going. Okay, another one I've talked about a ton is You Have a Little Life in You Yet, which is by Or Could Have Been Mine. This is one of my top ones. I love it. This is another plane crash AU. This time, though, not everyone dies, though we do lose a few people. So this one does have some character death, but including, I'll tell you this, including Coach. We lose Coach in this one, Coach Wibb, but not everyone in this one. So in this one, it's a weird mix of like, no, they don't have to turn into cannibals, but like they basically run into the side of a mountain. And there's a bit of a survivalist things that have to happen. So a couple of the things here are this fic will have some gore, minor character deaths, and basically anything you would imagine as a result of a plane crash. There will be a lot of suicidal ideations and thought, as well as self-sacrificing behaviors and harmful behaviors. So for this fic, I switched the teams that Shane and Ilya were playing so that the Centaur's plane would crash over the Canadian wilderness. Hayden does not know Shane and Ilya are together at this point. So, yes, and he also hasn't been in therapy yet. Everything else is fairly canonical there. So, yeah, very intense, this one, but it also was, like, really thrilling at the same time. This one definitely had, like, a Survivor thrilling edge to it. So this one is also, I would say, because this one has an explicit tag, I would say it's less for the sex in this one and more for the danger and presumed dead. And this one does have, with the grief and mourning on Shane's part, where when Shane hears something might have happened to him and that it was after they kind of had a fight with one another, Shane gets very dark. Shane is like, if I can't have Ilya, like, I don't know if I can be here. So Shane spirals pretty hard in this one. But yeah, if you like some adventure ones, you know, this one's pretty good. This one is about 38,000 words. They're doing some work out there. And like I said, it is explicit, but it's mostly for like the violence part. Okay, we got to continue here. Next, there is the Russia's Greatest Love Machine. This one was also by Or Could Have Been Mine. And that's actually why I read this one. This was one I actually had saved for a really long time before I got to it. Because this one is, Ilya is a porn star, but no, it's not the one that I was talking about in, the thing. We'll get to that one, actually. This one, in this one, Shane is actually still a hockey star, and yeah, Ilya is a porn star. And at this one, Shane and his buddies are actually in Vegas for the hockey awards, and it's happening at the same time, I believe, as the, like, you know, porn awards or whatever. And so I just thought it's so funny. So yeah, Ilya is like a superstar level of fame in this. So he is wealth and full of freedom of what he chooses to film and everything. So I just want to say that this isn't the average experience of people in the industry. So just keep that in mind. It's a bit of a fantasy fic in that regards. So there's no content warnings besides some dom sub elements, and there's no coercion or anything. But yeah, they end up meeting in this case, and yeah, Ilya's very flirtatious with him, and of course it makes Shane curious, and he ends up looking into Ilya, and then ends up messaging with him, and they end up getting close enough to have things happen. And what's cute though is that it still gets to a point in the story where it kind of still ends in a place that may seem reminiscent of something from the books, which I thought was really cool. But I'll leave that to you. So yes, Russia's Greatest Love Machine. You know what song that's inspired by. All right, next up was Duty of Care, which to this point is still the longest fic that I've read, though I do have a longer one saved. Duty of Care is 145,000 words. Sorry, Russia's Greatest Love Machine is only 21,000 words. It's only like 150 pages. It's a quickie. But yeah, Duty of Care is like 600 and some pages. Yeah, I believe that's the longest one I've read. Yeah, it is the longest one I've read so far. And this is the one that is, this one's a mature rating. It's not, you know, there's not really any intimacy happening in it. And it actually does kind of focus on the POV of David and Yuna a lot, at least in the beginning. And it's about the relationships of David and Ilya, and Yuna and Ilya, and then like Ilya and Svetlana, and then Cliff and Svetlana are together in this one as well. So this one is like, oh my gosh, it basically picks up right after the like cottage scene. And so, or the scene where Shane and Ilya have talked with his parents. And so we see what David is thinking, and Shane talking with his mom, and David talking with Ilya. And then we get to see how quickly David and Yuna absolutely fall for Ilya, and they basically adopt him into their life. And we get to see when eventually he is, you know, living in Ottawa and working there, and how much they become a part of his life and how much they care about him. They actually take a trip with him to Russia at one point to finish up some business over there, because Shane can't go with him. And they like go to his mother's grave with him. Like, I'm just dropping a few things for you, okay? This fic is extremely emotional, but so beautiful. And as I said, the literal topic of this one is Ilya Rozanov, get loved. That is actually the only summary for this one. Okay. There is a follow-up piece to this one, which I still want to read. It's called Holding Patterns. And it starts up, I guess, it says in this that this one will start up right around chapter 24 of Duty of Care, which is when Shane and Ilya get married in that fic. And then this one's now from Shane and Ilya's POV. So I really want to read this one. This one is also 120,000 words, and I just can't dive into it just yet, but I will. So highly, highly recommend Duty of Care if you want to see Ilya just get all the parental love he desires and also see Shane support him. It does really dive into his mental health a lot, and we see Una and David supporting him through that and Shane's doing his very best too. Shane is actually like asking his parents for help to help Ilya, you know, in a way that Shane wouldn't ask for help for himself, but he will for Ilya. Love that stuff. Highly recommend. Okay, next up is Professional Heartbreaker by Your Insomnia. This one's only 14,000 words. It's explicit, and basically all it is Shane is a escort. Ilya is a mafia bratva prince, and he hires escorts. Shane is the only escort that he's hired more than once. And I'll leave it at that. That's it. It's a good one. Recommend if you want to read any mafia ones, I guess. There's not a lot of mafia content in it, but a little bit. There's a little bit. Okay, next there was Evidence of Me. And this was another sex fic. Oh yes, this is the daddy kink one. This one is the one I was confusing with compatible. I was confusing those two. So this one is Ilya wins MVP. Shane wears Ilya's gift to himself during the ceremony, driving him crazy with the filthiest mouth. So this one involves them being kinky in different places as well. And it is, yeah, just lots of sexy things. So again, I am ambivalent to recommending this one or not. If you want it kinky, go for it. Okay, then I read this fic called Not How It Happened by Evil Harlow. I'm not going to talk about this one though because it's not available anymore. It got deleted. I believe Evil Harlow deleted all of their fics, I think is what I've heard. If you are savvy enough and you have threads, there are some people who have a folder that has all the fics on it, but I'm not going to talk about it because I don't remember it and I can't look it up anymore. So I did read that, but I don't have much to say about it. I also, sadly, I'm so sad about this. A fic that I greatly enjoyed, I'm not going to pretend otherwise, was one called Shane Hollander's Girlfriend by Baby Steric, okay? This was 125,000 words. It was my first fic I read that was an interactive fic, okay? It had, like, files in it. It had articles. It had magazines. It had all this stuff. The fic writer of this themselves admitted that they used AI for parts of it. They then tried to backtrack it and make all these excuses about it, like not being a big deal and everything. But you guys know I have zero tolerance for that. I don't know why you would use AI for a fanfic anyway, except for the fact that it's become so ubiquitous in your use that you would. You don't make money off of fanfic anyway. Why are you using AI for your creativity? Like, why did you take on a project you couldn't do when it's all for fandom anyway? So yeah, I'm naming and shaming a bit right there. They admitted it. Okay, they have posts about it. I wonder if it's even still available. Nope, they did delete it. Okay, so I can't even share it anymore anyway. I'm devastated. I had no idea it was AI. I read the whole thing. I ate that fic up, right? So it just goes to show you can't always tell. But they admitted it and then deleted all their works. But so I'm naming and shaming that one I loved so much was AI because I'm not perfect and I'm not pretending to be. So I will always admit it when I find it out. All right, and then I read Gordie Howe Hat Trick by Peace Lilies. Peace Lilies will show up multiple times. They write a lot of HOLLANOV fic, and theirs are fun. But that one, it's just a sweet little basic. It's just 17,000 words. And it is the first road trip with Shane and Ilya on the same team, where they're trying to behave themselves, or at least Shane is trying to behave himself and make Ilya behave too. Good luck, Shane. All right, then there was Courage. It couldn't have come at a worse time. This one is rated mature. It is 81,000 words. This is a heavy fic, and it's a big canon divergence, okay? So this one is by Veil of Imagination, and in this one, Ilya gets tired of waiting. So in this fic, they don't get outed. And it poses the question, if they weren't forcibly outed by the situation in the long game, would Shane ever be ready to be out? And, you know, there's the thought that possibly no, right? And so this one does have a happy ending. I just want to tell you that. It literally has the tag angst with a happy ending. It has seriously, there is a happy ending, I swear. But it takes a look at what if they were never forced to come out. So this is what this person said. I'll write a few things. It says this: Ilya and Shane deserve better than being outed. Shane deserved to choose his timing, and Ilya deserved for Shane to choose him. To choose him out loud on Shane's terms and not the dumb NHLs and plot devices. This is that story. The canon diverges from chapter 23, the scene where Ilya tells Shane to leave. Team, I love angst. I am only a little sorry about it, but there's a happy ending guaranteed. So if you've read The Long Game, take the scene where the fight happens and Ilya doesn't back down. And also they don't get outed. So then there's nothing to like really force Shane to it. And it's going to go to a bit of a like darker place in their heads first. And they actually end up breaking up. And I got to tell you, I struggled through this one at a couple points. I was like, wait, why am I doing this? Because even those fics I read where they're like in pain, they're always together in them. To read one where Ilya actually makes that choice to like, I can't do it, is tough to read. But it also is like, you're so proud of him at the same time. So it won't be for everyone, but it does have a HEA. And it did feel very satisfying when Shane finally sees a therapist and works through it himself. That's what I'll say. All right, All I Ask of You by I Said Saddle Up. This is rated mature and it's 50K words. This is one that is one of my favorites as well. And everyone looks at me like I'm crazy, okay? Big trigger warning, major character death. There's a car accident after the Pikes leave the cottage. They're visiting Shane and Ilya at the cottage, and when they leave, they get in a car accident, and Hayden and Jackie die. And Ilya and Shane are left as the godparents to the 4 Pike children, and it is as devastating as it sounds, and it is also beautiful. And I'm not going to cry right now because I have shit to get done, but it will rip your guts out. It was also so stinking beautiful, and I loved it. But yeah, it hurts. It hurts. Watching them be parents to those babies is amazing. I loved it. All right. Then we have Mutually Assured Exposure by Cockatoo. This is 108,000 words. It is rated explicit. And this is the one where Ilya is a porn star and Shane is an OnlyFans model. And it is also the one that made both Declan and Silvan and myself blush while talking about it on their podcast. This is one where Ilya basically has a porn company that every hockey player that you see basically works for him. They weren't hockey players ever. They are porn stars. And Shane is a lone OnlyFans creator, and you know, in the business you do collabs, and so he reaches out or someone suggests it and he's going to film content with Ilya, and Ilya ends up doing some research on this guy and he thinks he's so boring, his content, his solo work, but why does he spend so much money to get Shane to make himself come if it's so boring? But yeah, they definitely are like enemies to lovers in this one who fuck, and it's hot. So highly recommend it. All right, R.E. High by Fleaweezer. This is 60,000 words and it's a not rated fic. There are some steamy scenes near the very end of it, and because it's a not rated fic, the fic author like will tell you when there are spicy scenes. This is one where Shane and Ilya meet in the 90s, not in person, through the computer. So they are young boys. I believe it's when they're 11. They start emailing one another. So this is an interactive fic. and it starts with emails. So you do want to read this fic either, I actually recommend reading it on AO3. I know I usually don't recommend that for any, but I recommend it there because the interactive pieces work the best. There are things you get to like click and they open, and there are emails you scroll through, and there are like things to do. Like, it's so good. But they start with, it's a school project where they're supposed to email back and forth, and then it goes through, honestly, Shane is best friends with Ilya since they are 11. And through the death of Ilya's mom, through his abuse from his dad and his brother, through a time when Ilya actually comes to visit the family, through them being drafted, and then them, like, in this story, they're best friends. And literally the media is trying to craft this, like, animosity between them, and they just think it's ridiculous. Through Ilya's like depression and all these things. And so each chapter is a different year. And so sometimes they hardly message and sometimes they can't stop. And it's so sweet. I adore this fic and I highly, highly recommend it. Okay, then another one I also talked about on there is Shane Hollander is Dating a Nice Man from Montreal by Tricky Snail. This one is only 24,000 words. It's rated mature. And this is the one where Shane is dating a dude named, what is his name even? He's dating this super boring guy. Is Ben? Yeah, I think Ben. And he's super boring and nobody in Shane's life really thinks he's good enough for him. And then Ilya gets recruited to like basically steal Shane away. And so yes, one of the tags that is a single tag, right, is Hayden Pike helps Ilya Rozanov commit a boyfriend heist, which, you know what, as Silvan said, that absolutely should have been the title. Hayden Pike helps Ilya Rozanov commit a boyfriend heist. So this one's adorable. Highly recommend it. And yes, it technically has some cheating in it. If you don't want that, fine. But it is an open relationship between Shane and his partner. And when you read it, it really isn't angsty at all. And Ben is a total tool and like you're okay with it. But it also makes it super satisfying when Ilya wins him over. Okay, and then the last two to talk about are another duet that I love so much, and that is Night Changes and Immune to Everything Except You. And this is an AU where Shane is still a hockey player, but Ilya is a surgeon. He's actually, I think, a pediatric surgeon. And Shane actually ends up in a phone booth calling the only number that he has memorized, which he thinks is Hayden's. And he actually ends up calling Ilya. They're actually strangers. They don't know each other. And Shane calls him. He's been chased down by this weirdo who says he's a fan, but is actually stalking Shane. And Ilya ends up coming to his rescue. I won't explain it all. It's very much fic magic makes it happen. But he had been like drugged by this guy, and then the guy was gonna try to take him home, and Shane ran down the wrong place and called for help, and Ilya showed up. So Ilya ends up taking him to the hospital, and then Shane asks him out on a date. And Ilya's a very busy guy and Shane is a busy guy, and so they have a breakfast date. And they just can't stay away from one another. These are both very short fics. The first one's only 20,000 words, and the sequel to it is 17,000 words. I believe the fic writer said they will, like, they may be writing, like, another one in this series. But they're both kind of just, like, the first one is the inciting incident, like, them deciding to see each other. And then I think it skips forward, like, 6 months, and we're seeing their, like, domesticated selves with each other. But it's so cute. And so, like, it is rated mature, but that means, like, there's not a ton of, like, there's not really explicit sex in it. It's very emotional stuff. And it's just so sweet in it. I love it so much. So I highly recommend it. Definitely do. Oh, and I guess I do have one more to round this out of the 25 I'm recommending in this video. And it is We Have Baby Now, Yes, by Lizzie Writes Lazy Fanfics. And this is 70,000 and it is explicit. And yes, this one involves Ilya has had to retire because he has a serious injury that is going to keep him out of hockey for a year. and they decide it's time to get a baby. And so they hire a surrogate, and Ilya is going to be the one staying home. And so yeah, this takes place after the long game, and it contains a lot of references to stuff that's already happened in those. And this is cute though. The fic writer is like, I forgot about Anya. I'm so sorry. So there's no Anya in their lives, but it's not because she died or anything bad happened. The fic author just forgot to write Anya in the story. But yeah, Ilya gets hurt. But he ends up being kind of the stay-at-home parent in the beginning. This also deals with like the anxiety of early parenthood. It's mostly lots of fluff and beautiful things in it. And we just get to see Ilya be an absolute softie and a new dad, and Shane be as prepared as he possibly can, and see all the team just go to absolute goo over them being new parents, and it's super cute. So that is, you know, see, I started with one of the heaviest fics I've ever read and ended with one of the lightest, fluffiest, sweetest ones of them being parents. So there is multitudes all the way through. So I have still read about another 8 after this, but like I said, we'll stop at 25 for this video. And then in a month or two, you know, I'll have read another 25 and we'll do another video. So there you go. I hope there are some recs that you guys will love mixed in there somewhere. Let me know if you have any recs that aren't ones that I've mentioned. Again, check out the previous video where I recommended 25 other fics there. Check out my time with the guys on the Long Game podcast. And yeah, I can't wait to read more, and we'll see you next time. Bye.